most people don't really know Wayne Rooney that well, and he speaks about battling his demons, but it's actually, when you think about him at 16 going into the Everton first team, and football clubs don't give players support, and come from a tough upbringing, and all of a sudden his whole life is on display in the national press. He is a superstar, and it's very difficult. It was very difficult for him to cope with. I think about my time, and I know I can laugh about it now, and you laugh about it. After my time at Chelsea, when I was going through a difficult phase, and I've said, I keep things to I still do now. Really, I'm a lot better, and I'll talk to my wife about things. But I thought what was really interesting was that, he talked about keeping things to himself when, now as he's older, and I think he looks back that, he will think, well, I should have done things in a different way. But that was his way of dealing with it. Now, my time at Chelsea when things were going wrong, and I was a sort of laughing stock in the national press, and there were caricatures, and I used to sort of front up with things and sort of behave like I didn't care. But it sort of, it killed me, and I was too ashamed really to speak to my to my dad about it, who was a big influence, and even my wife about it, and that had a big effect on me. And eventually I sort of worked my way out of it. Now looking back, now my career's finished, I know that I would have handled things differently, and and maybe gone and spoken to my manager and my coach. I'd have been brave enough to do that. But in the football environment, I found it a very, very difficult thing to do. So I was on my own, and in many respects, it affected me massively. But football clubs, when young players are coming into the game, and Wayne Rooney was 16 and a superstar. How was he supposed to deal with that? Football clubs, with the greatest respect, don't care as long as you're performing on the field. They will laugh things off. But he's had to go through so much and live a different life to most players because he's an absolute footballing god. And in many ways, he talks about he had to fight for everything. And now he's older and wiser. I mean, the position he's in at Derby, actually, that's a basic life skill, if you want to call it that, would stand him in good stead. And of course, he would have learned from his experiences. And he holds his hand up in the article and he said, well, I made a lot of mistakes, but the pressure he was under, as a youngster, and the pedestal he was on, I think that football is awful at giving young players support mechanisms. It's always the players have to somehow find it through, making their own mistakes, rather than football clubs, going to these young players, and it still happens, and actually saying, listen, we are a shoulder for you to or an ear to listen to. You need to come and talk to us if you're having issues, if you're worried about anything. It's not a game where something like that seems to happen Chris, it's just not the way.
That's why I always say to, not you, but to people, when people say, oh, he's on 300 grand a week, but it's irrelevant. That is irrelevant. Can you not feel sad? Can you not feel low? Can you not be depressed because you're on that amount of money? Sometimes money makes it even worse because you don't actually deal with the root of the problem. You've got all these superficial things around you that be able to just mask the real pain. I was going into Villa every week, every single week, borderline depressed, going in there as a cheerleader, putting on a brave face, because that was my role within the team. But if I actually told you the honest conversation about what used to happen when I used to go to training ground, it got to a situation where I was just being treated like a piece of meat. But I understood that was football and I got on with it. I didn't come out and call people out and say and feel sorry for myself. But in football, that is just what it is. Is it right? No, of course it's not right. No, the football community doesn't protect people who are vulnerable, and that is just the truth. And I almost felt like the game spat me out after all I'd given to the game. People ask me why I'm always happy now. It's because I've all the pressure of having to go into and doing something you love, and you're being told, oh, you're not good enough, or you're injured, or that's now I can be my own person. And so that's why I'm always happy now, because I embrace the opportunities that football's given to me, but I'm not gonna pretend like I wasn't in a bad place, and I can sympathise with Rooney.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.